So yeah, the LA market busy. People buying homes. Things are home prices are still going up as we speak. I mean, like most, I would assume like most markets, things tend to slow down in the fall. So, at the end of the day, people are still out home shopping. There's a lot of open houses still, but things have slowed down substantially from the summertime. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. This market has been, a little different than previous years, just in regard to, I think people have adjusted to the fact that rates are going to be what the rates are going to be. A year ago or maybe 2 years ago now, when they shot up, people were so like, "Oh my gosh," because they had seen a 1 to 2 to 3%. So
Yep.
it
Yep.
took them a while to get adjusted to it. So now you're starting to see a lot of people that, hey, we're either going to buy now or we're going to keep waiting. So we're just kind of jumping into the market.
Yeah, because during COVID, I know the rates were like 2, 3%. And unfortunately, I wasn't in real estate back then, but I
Mhm.
heard all you needed was your license. So I heard a lot of agents also quit after that because they couldn't handle the way that the market pretty mu kind of crashed.
hmm Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, it seemed like I was every time I click on my social media, there's a new realtor I was following. So yeah, you had a lot of people entering the market. There's a lot of people buying and selling homes because it was easy, it was quick. Rates were low, things were flowing. And then when things slowed down, you had to fall back on the skills that you really need to be a good realtor, and that's whether that's door knocking, whether that's utilizing social media platforms, or just picking up the phone and cold calling. So a lot of these realtors that were entering the market did not the fact that they didn't have those skills, but they didn't really need to learn them. So
Yeah.
when things slowed down, they had nothing to fall back on.
Yeah, well, I think that essentially what you're trying to say is a lot of them got spoiled, and a lot of them,
Mm.
they didn't really feel that like that real dirty work that you have to do, I guess. So Charlie, how long have you been in real estate now?
Since 2019,
Okay, 5 years
so
now, and
probably about 5 years now.
yeah, so that's actually pretty fast to get to a broker. So what inspired you to get into real estate?
Well, my dad has been a mortgage broker for 30 something years now. So I think he got his license in, I want to say 1991. I'm not around that time. So he's been doing it a long time. And when I was younger, I just remember he was always at my events, whether it was a school event, a taking me to my basketball games, whatever it was, he was just always around. So I just kind of took what he did and thought, well, he's always around. So when I get older, maybe I want to do something along with that so I can always be around for my kids. So I think it was just really the freedom aspect that stuck out to me. And then as I actually figured out what he did exactly and how beneficial it is for us to help people get homes, that's when I really dove head first into it, because one thing I love to do is I love helping people, and I feel like there's so many people who are able to buy, they just don't know how to buy. So it's nice to be able to help them utilize our services to kind of get them in homes and help them live the old good old American dream.
Right. So it sounds like when you were a kid, you were somewhat of a sponge absorbing what your dad was doing, and he got you into real estate, and now even though it's not the same job as a mortgage broker, it is still in real estate, and both jobs actually have a lot of freedom as far as I know. So Charlie, tell us about your very first year, 2019. Tell us about that year.
Um, Very first year, it was a lot of headaches, a lot of learning, a lot of stressful, a lot of stress. Um, the way I was kind of taught, my dad taught me hands-on for a lot of the beginning couple years. So it was kind of like, this is what it is. Go ahead and try it. So it was a lot of like, where do I do this? Where do I do this? Because, you know, being in as a broker for a few years now, it's like, back of the mind, everything's kind of not common sense, but you just kind of get it. It's kind of like real estate. Like you
I
do it so
get
many
it.
times, it's just a flow. But in the beginning, you're like, well, why do they need homeowners insurance? Why do they need taxes? Like it was hard for me to kind of like, figure out the why because I wanted to know why I just didn't want to do it. I wanted to figure out why. So it was a lot of that, but as I'm sure a lot of people in this industry, when you go through the fire and you make it out on the other side, things just start to kind of click for you. And the more experience, the more people you talk to, the more hands you shake, the easier it gets to kind of speak the language, I call it. So you go to enough of the events and you hear people talk, and then you kind of quiet at first, kind of listening, seeing, feeling things out, and then eventually you start engaging in those conversations just because you have the confidence to understand what they're saying and then also give something back of value to them.
Did you close in your first year? Did you close a lot?
We did a lot of refinances the first couple years, so 19, 20 rates were low. I got into the business 2019. I didn't get my own first deal until either I can't remember if it was 2027 September or 2021 September. It was one of that September. I remember it was the kind of the end of summer, and my friend had referred me to this lady who needed a refi, and I was stoked. First one, so I ended up getting it, closing it, and yeah, from then on, just kind of trying to improve on that every single year.
Right. So, Charlie, walk us through a normal day in your shoes. What time do you wake up? Coffee or tea? What kind of coffee or tea? Walk us through a normal day.
A normal day. So each day is a little bit different as my week goes. I do a lot of. I'm very active as far as working out and meal prepping. So a normal day is I get
As
up
I
at
saw this
around
morning.
4. Yeah, yeah. Normal day. A normal day. I get up, and if I don't have to meal prep, then I go straight to the gym around 4 or 5. Get my workout in. Head to the office around 8. From there, checking emails. So if I need to send out my newsletter, I have a daily newsletter that goes out to consumers and realtors. Work on my social media posts to like maybe 10, 11 for either this day or the next day. And at that point, just try to touch every file from 12 to around 3 p.m. Just try to touch every file. If I need to follow up with anybody, follow up. Just try to get to the file to where I can't do anything else on it, if that makes sense, to where like it's somebody else, somebody I need a document from somebody. So I try to get each file to that point. And then as the day kind of winds down, just kind of prep for the next day. And again, that's get my media, post social media ready. If I have to set reminders, because I didn't get big on setting reminders. I didn't see the value in that until later on. And these are
Yeah.
little things that like you learn as you get in the business. You're like, man, I can't keep forgetting to do things. So I got to set reminders. And, through the course of the years, you just learn little things like that. So I feel like a lot of this year was being big on systems and, setting little reminders for myself to remember to do the things that I need to do the next day. So.
Yeah, I have like 5 or 6 phone reminders every day, and I also have a to-do list in my phone's notepad on top of that. So yeah, I'm very big. I'm also assuming that you have a CRM.
Yes, I use a couple of them. I use Bonzo and I use Mailchimp. Mailchimp isn't. I use it more for my newsletter. Um, I'm sure it does tons of other things that I don't necessarily use, but as far as my newsletter and things of that nature, it does a really good job on that. Excuse me. Bonzo is more for my strictly business side of things. And I just recently got started with them maybe 2, 3 months ago now. So still learning the ins and outs, trying to use it every day and get familiar with it. I mean, as you know, I'm sure CRMs, they're each one is different. Each one has its own little thing. So each one can be a little tricky at first. So I think it's just getting over the learning curve and just kind of putting yourself in it and trying to use it constantly because we're all creatures of habit. And it's kind of like we tend to do the things that we're comfortable with. But the hard part is being like, no. this is going to be good for me in a year. So let me go ahead and figure this thing out, even if it's going to take however many hours out the day. So that's kind of
Yeah, it's very important to stay organized. So Charlie,
mhm.
you're a mortgage broker.
Correct.
Now, do you also have your real estate license?
I do.
So that's what kind of threw me off. I wasn't sure if you were an
Okay.
agent or a broker. Okay,
Okay,
so
yeah,
you're a mortgage broker and you're also an agent.
correct.
So wow, because I only know one other person like that. How do you
Hmm.
juggle those two?
Well, we don't do anything on the real estate side. I decided to go that route. Just, I figured that's the way my dad went, and he sometimes would focus on the real estate side, and back in the day, he would do both sides of the transaction. So that's kind of what I grew up on, and just kind of seeing that. But no, I focus only on mortgages. I have my real estate license, but that's just to essentially be licensed through the DRE. I don't do anything real estate, just mortgages.
Very interesting. So it sounds like mortgages, that's your priority.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
So I have a friend who also is a loan officer and agent at the same time, and this is what he
Mhm.
said. What he said was that being an agent is generally more money, and he told me that if he could rewind time, he would have got his agent's license first and made that his focus. Because right now, mortgages are his focus, but he said that
Mhm.
if he could rewind time, he would have got his agent's license first and made that his focus. So, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like it's better to get the agent's license first? Or how do you feel about like how do you feel about that whole statement?
I feel like, you should probably do whatever it is that you're gonna do jump 100% into. I feel like each being on both sides of the transaction, I feel like each being the realtor or the mortgage or the lender side has its own special things that they require. On the realtor side, what I've seen as far as, you got to be a strong negotiator. You got to really know your stuff as far as homes go, the questions to ask. I mean, the very details in the contract can make or break a transaction. So I feel like on that side, you have to be very detailed oriented and you have to really know your stuff as far as real estate goes and know your guidelines ins and out because all that stuff plays a part when you're in that negotiating room and when you're trying to fight for your client. That's very important. On the lender side, I mean, I kind of look at it as just putting a puzzle together. Like, you're not always going to have a straightforward deal as far as straightforward income, straightforward FICO, all that stuff. Sometimes things are going to be a little bit muddy and you're going to have to figure out how to take this piece, plug it somewhere as far as lender, and then have it all connect at the end. So, I kind of like, I'm a huge problem solver. I love taking things and seeing if I can find a way to make them fit. So I feel like maybe that's the way I gravitated toward the mortgage broker side. But again, each one requires their own little special skills.
Right. The two jobs actually have a lot in common. They're both in real estate.
Hmm.
They both, you make your own schedules, and they actually both require problem solving, just different kinds. I would imagine
Hmm.
that your side deals with a lot of number crunching, a lot of Google Excel, a lot of using the calculator and all that. So you have loan officers under you.
Yes, we have a couple.
Oh, okay. So you're the broker. So how many you have two under you?
Yes, yes, we have 200. My dad is the broker owner. I'm the broker associate, and then we have a
Oh,
couple loan officers under us.
interesting. So your dad, he's still on the job.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, he still does loans.
Nice. I wasn't sure if he was like retired or anything. So
Mhm.
tell Charlie, tell us your favorite thing about being an MLO.
My favorite thing, again, I think it just goes back to helping people.
Mhm.
I think that's such a, when you get a transaction and somebody comes into your office or calls you up and gives you their story about why they want to buy, whether it's they just had a baby, they're getting married, mom and dad are moving in, so we need a
Yep.
bigger home. We want to upsize because I just got a new job and we're doing really well. Whatever it is, everybody has a story and everybody has something that they're moving towards in life, and just being able to provide a service for people And then I think get all the way to the end and they get their keys and they're happy and they're joyful. I feel like that's just a good feeling from serving them, but also it feels good for myself. And just being able to help provide that for people is, is I feel like probably one of the top things, if not the best thing, I feel like.
Yeah, it's definitely a people person's job. But I would say
Hmm.
that if you're not a people person, neither job is probably the best for you. You know,
Yeah.
it's a lot of involved. It involves a lot of talking to people, socializing, going to events. I'm assuming that you go to events too.
Yes, yeah, I try to go to events constantly. I mean, I am a natural introvert, so through the years, I've had to grow out of my fear of going up and going to these events alone and just talking to people and having conversations. So that's been a challenge of mine, still a challenge, still working on it. But yeah, I feel like I love going to all types of mortgage events. I mean, you meet all types of people, and the one thing that I always try to do is you always try to take things from people because at the end of the day, everybody knows something that you don't know. So you got to go to these events humble and realize that, the people I'm talking to are doing something, might be doing something else that I could take and implement it in my business. So,
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can meet a lot of different people at events. You know, there are some events I've met 10, 20 people in one day. So have you found that those events are actually financially helpful? Like, have they actually boosted your salary, to be straightforward?
not directly, but indirectly, yes. I mean, I was having a conversation with somebody just the other day, and he had mentioned that they're the things that they're working on right now, and as far as just sending out Christmas gifts and putting together little items for Christmas for the clients and past clients. And I'm not saying that I wasn't already thinking of that, but when things are slow, you can be using this time right now to do other things, not working on your business, working in your business, or vice versa. And I feel like little things like that you can take from and put in your business, and then at the end of the day, you sending out a Christmas card or sending a bag of cookies can help you get a deal from whatever it is, her sister, cousin, uncle, whatever it is. So yeah, I feel like indirectly going to those type of events does help my business.
Yeah, the more I'm on the job, the more I realize that those tiny little things can make a big
Mm,
difference. You know, the cookies. You know, I've some realtors buy pens, some realtors buy water bottles. I saw a lot of send
hmm.
postcards. And the more I'm starting to realize, like some people send handwritten letters, and those little tiny things can actually make a big difference. It Like you said, it could be not even a closing for them, but it could be their sister, their brother, their friend, their cousin. So those little tiny things
Exactly.
can make a difference, and that's really important that you bring that up. So I have a question you probably never got before, maybe. What is your least favorite thing about being an MLO?
My least favorite thing. Well, you know, like the real estate professional in general, you're going to work a lot of time and you're not going to get paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
not this a lot of waste, not I shouldn't say wasted time, but there's a lot of things, and I don't even say this is my least favorite thing. I feel like it's just an unknown thing where you could be doing whether it's social media, sitting in open houses, helping out, in my case, realtors helping out loan officers,
Yep.
talking to a client, following up on your database, and all those things that you could doing potentially could lead to $0.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
think it's just the unknown about what you're doing is working or not. And at the end of the day, you can hear 1,000 motivational podcasts, so many things saying, just keep going, you're gonna break through, you're gonna break through. But at the end of the day, you don't really know if you are, just for based off I don't know if I post to social media, is it gonna attract leads or not? So I think at the end of the day, you just got to have a belief and a faith that in one in yourself, and then two in the work that you're doing to overcome that fear of the unknown. So I just feel like if there was something that would be my least thing about the business, I feel like it'd probably be that.
Yeah, I don't think that calling it a waste of time is necessarily wrong. One of my favorite quotes that my friend said is to trust the process, and I resell
Hmm.
sneakers, and that's what he was telling me when I
Yeah,
first started because he was my mentor. And if there's one job in the world where there's wasted time and energy and money, it is real estate. And I think that a very, very, very important part, especially if you're in your first year, is to trust the process and to trust yourself and to know
hmm,
that it will you things will pick up. Things will pick up if you work hard and if you work smart, things will pick up. And you kind of got to keep telling yourself that, because it's a very rough job, especially in the beginning. It's very rough. And you just, like you said, you have to trust the process and you have to trust yourself. Charlie, do you do
100%.
commercial real estate as well?
I do not. No, I do not. Just residential.
Is there a reason behind that or?
No, no reason at all. I just feel like as of right now, I think I want to, I've heard about just trying everything and, doing it all. I've heard of sticking to your bread and butter or focusing and being a master at one thing and then focusing on that. So I think right now I'm just trying to build a solid foundation as far as residential real estate goes. And from there, if I feel a need, if I'm comfortable with where I'm at, and I think I want to jump into something else after mastering this, then that option is always there. So,
Yeah, I definitely believe that you should master one area before moving on to the next. And
mhm.
one thing that life also taught me is whatever it works, milk it. You milk that shit, whatever works, because things, opportunities, great opportunities are generally temporary. So whatever works, milk it. So, Charlie, your salary is 100% commission based.
Yes.
Right. So I just wanted to explain for the new people who might be listening, it is
Hmm.
100% commission based. So that can be tough and it could be a while. Do you remember, Charlie? So you said that you started in 2019. Was that as an agent or as a loan officer?
I jumped in. I got my real estate license in 2000, and I either got it in 2019 in February or 2018. I just never did anything with it because I was still in school at that time. So I was in school. I had my license. The only job that I'd ever had was Uber, surprisingly, because I used to play basketball. So I was busy with that for most of my college life. So when I was done, I was just kind of, doing Uber, doing this other driving job. So for based off Uber, I mean, you literally have to get up and go drive and work to get paid. So I think, as far as the commission base, I was already in the mindset of whatever I worked for, I got. So in this case, with real estate, whatever you work for is what you're gonna get. If you don't work and you stay asleep or you don't get up and go out, you're not gonna get paid. So I was kind of already used to kind of similar to that mentality.
Yeah, so I drive Uber too, actually. But the thing
Hmm.
about Uber is, Uber is guaranteed money. You get paid for
Hmm.
every single ride, guaranteed money. Now, the thing about real estate is every single cold call, every single door knock, it's not guaranteed money. So that's one thing
100%.
about Uber. Like in a way, in a sense, it is, you kind of need more motivation and more persistency in real estate, I would say, in my opinion, because not every single deal is guaranteed, not every single cold call is guaranteed. I mean, every time you pick up the phone, the chance of that leading to a closing is less than 1%. But you go out to Uber, every single ride is guaranteed money, so that's
That's
what's good
true.
about
Very true.
Uber. That's what's good about Uber, and like I said, it's same thing. You make your own schedule with Uber, so it sounds to me like you're not really a 9 to 5 sort of guy.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, I'm not. I love I'm always up for a challenge. I've always been this way. I'm very competitive. I think that's cost work kind of stems from. So just going out and challenging yourself every day to be like, you know what, I'm going to make this work. I feel like this kind of bodes well with the industry. As you said before, you got to trust your process. That means you have to believe in yourself, and that's kind of where it starts. If you believe that you can get up and go out and do it, then hey, do it. But if you feel like you're a little not shaky, but if you just have enough confidence in yourself to go out and think that you can get it done, then real estate might not be the right job for you. Like they say, real estate isn't for everybody, and it's hard work. It's rewarding, but again, it takes a left and it's a grind, and you got to be patient because it doesn't always happen as fast as you think it's going to happen. Sometimes, it takes 2 years, 3 years, 8 years, 10 years. So you just got to be willing to get up every single day and keep on doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again until essentially you have your breakthrough. And at that point, then you'll be ready, but you won't be ready a second sooner just because it takes all the skills that you develop along the way to kind of get you there. So.
And that breakthrough can take a really, really long time. Some
Mhm.
people, it takes over a year. And back to, probably my favorite word when it comes to real estate is persistency. You have to be persistent. You have to keep going. You have to, there are times, there are days when you're going to make 500 cold calls and nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. And the thing is, you have to have persistency. You have to pick up the phone the next day, and it's tough and it can be depressing, it could be lonely, but you got to have that persistency. And I think that it's not for everyone is very safe to say. The statistic, I
Yeah.
think 85% of people quit in the first year. I think 90% of people quit in like 3 years or something like that. So it's actually barely for anyone. When,
Hmm.
when you really think about it, it's barely for anyone. It takes a lot of persistency, and it on top of that, people have bills to pay. So on top of that, you got to pay the MLS fees, the brokerage fees.
Mm.
You got to pay for
Yeah.
marketing.
Everything.
You can be in the red for a really long time. So it's a very painful, very very painful job, especially in the beginning. It's very
Yeah.
painful in the beginning.
Yeah.
Charlie, where do you
So,
get your leads from?
um, leads. That's a good question. Realtors, referrals, social media. I mean, wherever I can get them, that's where. So yeah, we get a few things. I mean, social media leads, they take a little bit longer. Each lead has its own timeline,
Yep.
I should say. I mean, you get the referral lead, which if they trust the referral, they're very easygoing. They're gonna trust you because if the referral said that you're good, they're gonna be a little bit more lenient to work with you and whatnot. Social media, you got to build that trust a little bit, especially if you don't really know them. You might post something, they might have a question at first, okay? Then you comment, and then you kind of grow that relationship. A lot of my social media leads take, I mean, I was working with someone for about 3 years until they got closed. So
Wow.
those take a little bit longer. And then as far as getting leads from realtors, I mean those are most of the time you'll have clients who already have an idea of a lender that they want to work with in their mind. So the realtor has their favorite lenders that they like to send deals to. Then
Yeah.
you have the client who has an idea of what type of lender they want and kind of who they want to work with. So those are, you try to go in with the same mentality with each client. Sometimes I've done it both ways. I've tried to adjust to the client because maybe they want this a certain way. So I've tried to adjust to how their personality is, or just kind of go on the same way with the same type of, customer service, friendly, however it is. So I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it. I think it just do the way that works best for you. And but yeah, as far as leads go, we don't pay for any leads or anything
Oh,
like that. We've done that in the past. Maybe we didn't do it long enough, but at this time we don't have any. We're not paying for any leads right now. Just trying to going out, meeting as many people as we can, and yeah.
that's really interesting. So you
Mhm.
don't think that paying for leads would lead to more business?
I definitely do think that there's benefits to paying for leads. I mean, the more it's all really a numbers game if you kind of think about it. So if you pop in, 50 paid leads a day, and how you hit, or let's say in a week, 200, 250, and you hit one of those, then it ends up paying off for you. So I feel like there's definitely benefits to it.
So let's get back to social media because a lot of people, are still learning the power of social media. So how often do you get a business through social media?
Um, every time I post something, I kind of try to gouge, and if somebody asks me a question, then instantly I jot them down in my OneNote, and at that point, it's not I wouldn't call it. I mean, I guess I would put it in the lead section because they're asking questions for a reason, depending on whatever the question is. So at that point, I'll kind of keep note, and then maybe touch base with that person, depending on the question and what they ask and where they're at and how much I know them. I'm going to either contact them, once every 2 weeks, once a month, and this is different type of contact as far as maybe they post a picture, I'm gonna comment on it. Maybe they post something on their story, I'm gonna laugh at it. Maybe they post something of their son, daughter, whatever, I'm gonna say, "Oh, cute photo, da 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 da." And then after so long, I'm gonna pop them like, "Hey, just wanted to let you know as far as the market's doing this. If you have any other questions, just let me know." And at that point, just kind of grow and nurture that relationship until eventually they're like, "Oh yeah, I think I just want to know if I'm interested." I always ask the question as far as I just want to see where I'm at. So once I get there, then it's kind of like, okay, well, we're getting somewhere now. So
Yeah, so I feel like this kind of reminds me just of the power of following up. A lot of
mhm.
people don't follow up enough. And I was actually thinking just this morning I was thinking about how I should call more instead of texting because sometimes I'll text the client and I feel like there's a difference between calling and texting. So even though I do follow up, I've been thinking about calling more instead of texting because they're two different things and one is more personal, so and I was also thinking just this morning again about how I feel like a fear of being annoying has really slowed down my business. Because sometimes I'll be like, oh, I don't want to be annoying. I don't want to call them. I don't want to annoy them. I just called them yesterday. I don't want to annoy them. And sometimes I wonder, like, I've been wondering, has that been slowing down my business? You know what I'm saying, Charlie?
Yeah, no, I get you completely. A lot, realtors that I've talked with have asked that question, like what are some ways that I can stay in front of my clients without me always constantly having to bother them with real estate things? Because at the end of the day, most people only are interested in real estate when they're in the market.
Yep.
So at that point, there's certain things that we can do to stay in front of them
Mhm.
without necessarily bothering, whether that's maybe asking them just how's Timmy or how's
Mhm.
their son, how's soccer practice, how was Thanksgiving, just
Yep.
following up as a friend.
Yep.
And then on the other side, also, and this is where we as real estate professionals can evolve into being not just the loan officer and not just the realtor, but hey, I have this friend who's high yield savings account. Do you have that? Hey, crypto, so and so investing. And involving our knowledge as far as on things to help clients on not just real estate or other things, but to help them in other ways in their life as well. Or whether that's, if they have a home, sending them something about decor or decorations, Christmas things, just kind of evolving the way that people look at the realtor and the loan officer.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Everyone's
Mhm.
different. Everyone has a different perspective.
Mhm.
Charlie, do you view other loan officers as competition?
No, I do not. No, I mean, I'm kind of been raised of just saying there's enough for everybody.
Yep.
So I mean, if I'm looking at somebody as competition, then, maybe I'm not doing something right. And I kind of look at it as what's he doing that I could be doing,
Mm,
essentially. Because, there's so many good realtors, and I follow a bunch of realtors, and I'm like, man, like his posts are awesome, his videos are awesome. So I'm just kind of taking things, and I feel like you need to look at things because unless you're at the top, you can always be adding something into your business or learning from somebody else. And I mean, there's so many times where I see people's videos and I literally just take that video, switch it up, and then just recreate the same video. I mean, that's such a hack
mhm.
for anybody in the business. Just look at what other people are doing and just take it, put your little spin on it, and then put it out. Because you have to understand, my followers aren't going to be seeing all this real estate stuff because we all have different algorithms.
Yep.
So
Yep.
we're looking at our page and thinking, man, everybody's going to see the same video of us
Yeah.
posting Christmas stuff.
Yeah.
When in actuality, nobody's seeing those other videos. So,
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of idea taking here and
hmm
there, you know. I mean, most success,
exactly,
oh, pretty much every successful business did to a certain extent, take a little bit of
exactly,
ideas here and there.
a
So
hundred
there's
percent,
nothing wrong
a
with that.
hundred,
Just don't say it out loud and do it low key. But there's nothing wrong
exactly,
with that. Charlie,
exactly.
tell us about one unforgettable experience you've had in your career.
One unforgettable experience. Hmm. Well, there's as far as as far as real estate and loan officers and being a loan officer, I feel like each loan has its own each transaction has its own special
Twist.
story
Hmm.
behind it. And I just feel like there's a point in each transaction where you're like, oh, I didn't know that, and I learned something. And I feel like as I go through this process and throughout the years of learning all these different things, I think each transaction has its own special moment. And there was this one time in this transaction where it we had docs and docs were sent out. And then the lender called me when docs were on the way to be signed. The lender called me, hey, we got there's a problem, like the borrower was short. And from that moment, I was like, how are you going to call the client when he's about to sign docs and tell him that he's short however many $1,000? So we got on the phone, called him, and I just feel like when you go through that growth, and I was after I got off the phone conversation, everything was fine. After I got off the phone, I was like, because before, you go through the moments of anything can happen on these transactions, and I just feel like each one has its own learning period, and from there, it's like, okay, like that conversation wasn't that bad. So you go through each one learning and growing, and I feel like that's the kind of the moments that I have in each one. I feel like are a little special.
Yes, I mean, in every experience, in every single closing or every single experience, you're gonna probably learn at least one thing, and if you could at
Mm-hmm.
least will learn one thing, that's enough already as it is. Charlie, what is your
100%.
long-term plan?
My long-term plan, I want to. I'm in the process of opening up my own brokerage because right now I'm part of my dad's, and I just want to build my own thing and
Yes.
get that up and running, and then just eventually just build it up, have a strong foundation, and build up my newsletter as well. I have an optimistic wellness newsletter that I send out every Tuesday and Wednesday. And I just want to, build upon my mortgage company and then build upon that and just kind of grow those two things into some big companies.
Yeah, honestly, I think I need to start a newsletter myself. I actually think that's a really good idea because I don't have one, and I think that's a really really good idea. So thank you for that idea. That's me taking your idea right
There
now.
you go.
Charlie, do you have any tips for new MLOs?
Um, yeah, just if you're gonna do it, if you just enter in the business and you're like, should I do it or should I not? Essentially, just jump 2 feet into it, and if you go for it, go for it. And it's like Christian said, you just got to trust the process and you got to believe in yourself because at the end of the day, those two things are what are going to get you past the hard point. Because I mean, and everybody in this business has gone through a point where should I quit? Should I give up? And at that point, you have a decision to make. You can either be like, no, like, I'm going to stick this out and I'm going to do whatever it takes to make it. Or you can decide to quit. But just know that if you decide to stick it out at the other side, you're going to be 20 times better as far as by the knowledge you gain. Everyone has to go through that rough period. It's I feel like it's just part of the business, right? Everybody goes through that period, but once you get past that period, it's things are looking up. So
You're
just
balling.
trust the process and believe in yourself.
Once you get past that rough period, you're balling.
Yep.
Charlie, where can people find you?
I'm online on my Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Charlie Evans the fourth. Broker Charlie is my tag on Instagram. Broker and then Charlie double E. Same with Facebook. Same with LinkedIn. Same with Twitter.
I'll put all your info below. Charlie, it was great talking to you, man.
Thank you, man. Thanks, Chris. I really appreciate this, man.
Thanks a lot, Charlie. Have a good one. Take care.
Talk to you.